And as you continue to be with us here, our live streams are on YouTube, Facebook, and on X, and our audience on KTN this morning continuing with us. Thank you for doing that. If you're listening around terrestrial radio around the country, getting into where you can find us in the region and the world, thank you for doing that, because definitely this conversation spans, across many jurisdictions, and then for us to talk about these things, very important. So thank you for doing that with us this morning. Our conversation goes towards the state of the nation this morning, and necessary for us to take a minute. It's kind of like in a sports game where you have a huddle or you have halftime for you to then come into, and the coach is then being able to see, hey guys, this is where we are and this is how we must change tact or continue doing what we're doing in order for you to secure the win. A pause is necessary, and that's what we're doing this morning. And we do that with PLO Lumumba, who is an advocate of the High Courts of Tanganyika and Kenya, and joins us this morning. Good morning, Prof.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Very well.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Looking sharp as a tack. For us to then be able to have this conversation, thank you for joining us this morning. Dennis takes us to Chad this week.
Yes, a country that is rich in oil, and oil became a major export in 2000. The country is actually named after Lake Chad. But one thing that stands out today, not in a positive light, is the fact that precipitation is happening rapidly and the lake is losing its water. So one would ask then, what is the country doing to preserve that water source that it is named after? Because then the future generation would want to enjoy what it's named after. But let's go to the proverb. Even the tallest baobab tree started as a small nut. Even the tallest baobab tree started as a small nut. How would you interpret it?
All great things start small. Mm-hmm. That is the essence of that proverb.
Yes.
That we must never ever be worried that our steps are small. It all starts with what we may describe as baby steps. Mm-hmm. Achebe put it very well, that when you see the mouth of a king or a queen, you wonder whether it once suckled the mother's breasts. And I think that is as dramatic and as poetic as it can be.
As it can be. Absolutely. We all start from somewhere. And it's great because the greatest things actually all had that same beginning. There's so many things that are happening, and that I'm going to use Friday as a pivot point, because whereas a lot of attention was on Nairobi and the unfortunate 30 deaths that occurred as a result of the flooding, maybe painted a picture of, some of the other things that are going in the country. But if we use that as a pivot point to then say, okay, where are we? And if we're taking a break in that sports match where the coach gets an opportunity to speak to the team members and say, guys, this is where we need to fix things a little bit, or this is where you are doing well, continue applying pressure there. If you were to take a look in the huddle at the moment, PLO, what would you tell your team in terms of how things are going in this match?
I would tell my team we are doing very badly. And if we are not careful, we are going to lose the match. And the tragedy is that the analogy only stops there, because the members of my team are so opinionated that they are no longer listening to the coaches. And that is the tragedy. But we cannot stop to exhort them to listen, because we have the vantage point of being on the ground. They live in a bubble, and they think that they know it all. That is the tragedy of the team that we have, who have the honor and privilege of running the affairs of this country. And if you permit me perhaps to go ahead of myself, look at the single issue of the floods that occurred in Nairobi. When I listen to the governor in titbits trying to say, it is not my responsibility. Whose responsibility is it? It is the duty of those who occupy office to take responsibility. That is why I think one American president once said, the buck stops here, and the buck must stop there. So we are in a bad situation, because we have people who think they have the monopoly of wisdom and are unwilling to listen. And when a country finds itself in such a situation, history tells us that those who arrogate to themselves the monopoly of wisdom and knowledge often lead their countries through shortcuts to chaos.
But they seem to be we almost listen to every word that falls from their mouths because I guess it's part of the job. But we also need to hear what it is that they're saying. And if yesterday was any example, when we listen to would-be leaders, or even listen to the leaders, not would-be, they are the leaders at the moment, they seem to believe that they have everything together. So if you're saying that the state of the nation is a pretty bad place, the people who are holding the place cards at the moment really believe that they've done. I mean, every time an opportunity is given, the president has said over and over again, we fixed the economy, we fixed education. I laugh at that even as I say it. We fixed education. Okay. We've fixed healthcare. Yesterday morning, if you were here, you may have shed a tear. And I use his name as an example. Michael, when we were talking about healthcare, told us that he has to lie to his doctor about his symptoms. Because if he tells his doctor the truth, the doctor would have him go run some more tests so that they could see what's really going on inside. And you know why he lied, PLO? Because he doesn't have the money to go for those extra tests, because he's almost sure that's what his doctor would ask him to do. Not only that, but he's fully paid up for SHA. And they've told him that his SHA has expired and there's nothing he can do.
Those in positions of leadership can say all they want, but let us look at the evidence.
Yes.
Because the evidence is what will speak to the reality. Not so long ago, before the floods, people were losing their animals in northeastern Kenya. Nobody cared about them. And I have families who have lost their cows, their goats, and nobody will compensate them. Right now, as we speak, in the last 1 week, floods have ravaged different parts of the country. It means that people are losing the crops. There is no fertilizer, and what you see in different countries are governors engaged in drama by releasing vehicles to distribute something called fertilizer, whose quality we do not know. Look at the health sector. Every week there is something of a scandal, and what we hear from the Minister for Health and members of that sector of the economy is that everything is fine. They poo-poo what the Auditor General is saying, but the testimonies are different. Look at the education sector. Even the minister does not know whether it should be CBC or CBE. And many people who can are going to the American system, the British system. Ask 90% of members of parliament and senior government officials where their children are going to school. Yeah. They are not going to this system. Ask them where they go when they are sick. They are either going to India or South Africa or Dubai or Germany or in the United States of America. They themselves have no faith in the systems that they are saying are working. Look at the number of individuals whose bills have not been paid by central government, by county governments. Look at the amount of money that at the same time is being spent for entertainment by governors and by the president in the State House. And look at the state of our roads. Look at the state of everything in this country. We have a few individuals who are having it all. It is Thomas Noel Isidore Sankara of Burkina Faso who said, we must make a choice. It is either champagne for a few or water for all. In Kenya, it is champagne and caviar for a very small minority, and it is pain and suffering for the majority. That is the state. So they can say all they want. And what you hear our politicians saying is, we want power. In other parts of the world, nobody just seeks power for power's sake. People seek to serve in order to improve the quality of individuals' lives. It's the only country, one of the few countries in the world where an individual is appointed as a cabinet secretary or a principal secretary, and they spend millions to hold a celebration party under the guise of Thanksgiving, and they attend in helicopters. We are the only country in the world where members of parliament fly in choppers to distribute bursary, and they have spent more money arriving at the venue.
Yeah.
Really, it is painful, and the tragedy and the pain at once is that these individuals no longer care. They believe that the Kenyan population is zombified, that the Kenyan population is hypnotized along ethnic lines, and that Kenyan population has short memory, and that when the elections come, what will happen is that they'll just be shooed in. Indeed, you can see that Kenya is treated like a war spoil, and people are saying whether they are going to have the arm or the leg. They are already distributing positions. If it is not the presidency, it is the cabinet ministries or the vice presidencies. They don't care. And it is a tragedy. So they can say all they want, but the evidence is against them. And we are selling everything because the country is technically insolvent. We are the only country in the world where a cabinet minister in charge of treasury says, I made a major announcement which was untrue. In other parts of the world, the individual would resign.
Yep.
But that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. We are selling our strategic assets. Perhaps it will be better. But the reason why we are doing this is simply because we are running broke. We are not doing well. The investors are not coming into this country because we are in an electioneering mood, and they do not know how the country will pan out, because the politicians are dividing this country into Nilots and Bantus. All institutions, constitutional commissions have been neutered. The Human Rights Commission neutered. National cohesion neutered. Parliament neutered. All critical institutions are neutered. We are being ruled through executive fiat. And that executive fiat is evident even in the devolved units. The governors are governing by executive fiat. The president is governing by executive fiat. Institutions have been ignored. You are doing affordable housing and you've ignored the National Housing Corporation, which has existed since 1960. You are doing all these buildings. There is no accompanying infrastructure. And this, we are told, is development. People now visit State House, Nairobi, and then they come out with something they call development. While when we were making the Constitution, we said we did not want any single individual to be the one who has the yam and the knife and gives us portions of it at his whims. We wanted institutions to be strong. We wanted the people to be at the center of the things that are done. Today, we have something called public participation, but it's simply window dressing. Today, we bypass the Constitution by entering into something called the 10-point agenda. All the things that they mentioned there are in the Constitution. What we should be doing is to implement the Constitution. We are the only country in the world where people are still grappling with whether somebody who headed a party and has since departed said this or that. We want to be governed by ideas from the grave, and other countries are looking to the future. If you come to Nairobi, for example, where we are operating from, we had a 1947 master plan. We had a 1973 master plan. We have a 2014, 2016, 2030 master plan prepared by JICA. We have not implemented it. Now the governor of Nairobi has entered into a pact with the president on an 80 billion project. We are simply doing things. We are enticed by drama, and that drama is not taking us anywhere. You go to Kibera, you go to Korogosho, you go to Mathare, you go to Mukuruku and Jenga, and when you go go to different parts of the country. You go to Lodwar, go to Migori, go to Homa Bay, go to Keroka, and ask the people whether this economy is working for them. It is not. It is not.
And perhaps this is the point where one asks the question, who takes the responsibility? Why do I say that? Because when Kenyans went to the elections 2022, they gave the governor of Nairobi the chance to lead this county, to ensure that drainage works, to ensure that garbage is collected, to ensure that the master plan 2014-2030 is actually implemented. He failed at that. The reason why it keeps on raining in Nairobi and Kenyans are marooned in floods. We talk about debt in the country. The president is there. His cabinet is there. When you find that money has been borrowed and it has not done anything, someone must take responsibility. The buck stops somewhere. We keep on looking at the health sector. Every other week there is a scandal. The cabinet secretary said that we know that those who are involved in this corruption are my fellow Muslims. That portends to the fact that the report shows who they are. All we need to do is to ensure that these people are brought to justice and money recovered back to Mwananchi. Why are we not saying if the Nairobi governor is unable to leave office, if the cabinet secretary fails in ensuring that healthcare works, that he is fired? The cabinet secretary for treasury would lie to Kenyans, and that is normal. Have we cultivated an idea or the behavior that anyone can walk away with nonsense?
Yes, indeed. Unfortunately, impunity, the occupation of public office in this country immunizes one from prosecution and scrutiny. When I hear the governor of Nairobi and those who are his acolytes saying, Nairobi was built in the wrong place, can you believe it?
On a swamp.
On a swamp. Their countries, Rotterdam and Amsterdam, are built below sea level.
Venice.
Yes.
Venice. Nairobi worked. And the reason why Nairobi is not working is because the Nairobi City County and City Council before it were licensing people to build in wetlands, licensing people to build in areas where they ought not to have built. The roads have not been improved. We have no major sewer line in this city. We don't cater for storm water and storm drainage. We don't know how to harvest rainwater. And the net effect is that you have what you have. You only have to drive in Nairobi below the expressway and see what happens. Even the expressway itself turns into a river. What is now being done at Haile Selassie, the underpass, floods when it rains just for 2 hours. Yet those who are in charge think that they have no responsibility. When they are about to be impeached, their political godfathers intervene. If you are to remove the neighborhood associations in Nairobi, Nairobi would collapse. 80% of why Nairobi appears to work is because the neighborhood associations are now taking care of their water. They are taking care of their roads. They are taking care of their garbage collection. The county government of Nairobi collects rates and does pretty much little. It is tragic. In other parts of the world, such individuals would have been removed from office. They would have been punished. But here they receive national honors. The same is true with the national government. We have individuals who are said to issue passports without scrutiny. We have individuals who are presiding over education sector and they say they are ghost schools. They say they are ghost teachers. And the accounts where they receive the monies are not ghost accounts, they are real accounts. And nobody cares and nobody deals with that. And what have they done? They have now hired young people to be bloggers online. You mention anything that is sensible, they hit you. They use artificial intelligence to malign the honest and the truth speakers. And yet, as the Kiswahili saying goes, mtego wa panya huingia waliomo na wasiokuwemo. And we have a duty as Kenyans to ensure that we protect this country for these generations and generations yet to be born. Unfortunately, you are right in saying today, impunity is the game in town. Politicians are operating above the law and outside of the law. The law does not apply to them. They can say and do anything they want, and no pain will visit them. When a country finds herself in such a space, a country is on a downward spiral. This beautiful country must be saved by her sons and daughters who love her. And in this regard, the population must wake up before it is too late.
Do you think that not talking about these issues then allows them to continue in the manner in which they do? Because there is a bit of freedom that evil enjoys in silence. And if you don't speak out about some of these things that we see, or all of them that we see, then are we just as complicit?
It is Wole Soyinka who wrote a book, "The Man Dies in Silence Who Remains Silent in the Face of Tyranny." Wisdom of that statement is that we have a duty to raise our voices and to identify and to speak against wrongdoing, even when we cannot be heard in our purest tones. History is consistent in telling us that sometimes, and sometime when we do not know, the voices that are rejected today are the voices that will be considered prophetic in the future. We have a duty to keep talking. And no matter how few we are, as Henry Gibson said in his book, An Enemy of the People, the strongest man and the strongest woman in the world is the man or woman who stands alone. In matters of truth, there is no democracy. The majority who are in bed with lies are still liars.
You know, when you sit and look at the country that we are in, you look at the taxes. Kenyans being taxed, and painfully so, nothing they see is happening. All they see is individuals who are showing, and like you would say, poo-pooing on the face in terms of there's nothing you will do. It's a do mentality. You find individuals are out here being asked to take responsibility for their actions, and all we see individuals doing is, I am with the president, I am with the government. Why? The reason why you see cabinet secretaries would get onto campaign vehicles and campaign which is against the law. Today we look at individuals who have been flagged not to be fit to hold office, but they are sailed through the conveyor belt and they end up on ballot boxes, they end up on ballot papers, they are elected into office. It is the reason why today you find that in open glare of cameras, individuals would line up to be bribed, and that does not shake us.
My brother, if you are to take a roll call today, you would discover that a good portion of members of parliament, to mean National Assembly, to mean Senate, members of county assembly are out of the country as we speak in a necessary benchmarking trip simply to make money. And if they are not outside of the country, they are moving from one place to the other, getting per diems. And as you rightly say, individuals whose history we know are the ones who are telling us what to do, and they are lining up men and women and distributing money to them. And the IEBC, which is charged with ensuring that our elections are devoid of corruption, are as silent as the graveyard. And then they will say the elections were free and fair. The question that we must ask ourselves, what moral decadence have we drowned in, that we are so numb that what is wrong is no longer wrong, that we now have our own versions of the truth, and that is what carries us along. And if you dare say that something is wrong, they'll tell you, but who can always be right? And yet, what we are talking about are critical things. They are compromising the future not only of our young men and women, but even the safety of this nation. When we talk about the quality of roads, it is not just that the drivers are the ones who are at fault. Even the quality of the roads must be called into question. And yet, these critical things are not talked about. Instead, we are engaged in what I call administration and governance through drama. It is drama at all levels. That is why you see when we talk about administration, every elected official says they want some funds because it is through those funds that they can engage in drama. The MCA wants an allocation to engage in drama. The member of parliament has CDF, which is used for drama. The Senate has money which they use for drama. The women reps also need money which they use for drama. The president has no shortage of funds which is used for drama. So we are engaged in a theater of the absurd. And we are spectators who are supposed to cheer. We cheer when one of our own has been appointed a cabinet minister. Then we say, we are now in government. As if that paid your bills. And as you rightly say, you look at any of your bills, look at the pay slips that you have, the amount of money that is going to government. Look at your electricity bill and see how much money is going into taxes, and ask yourself how it is being used. Is it being used for the benefit of the people? No, largely no. So we are in a bad space. We are in a hole, and we should stop digging. And good leadership must be accountable. In the last few days, I've been looking at the 2 sessions of the Chinese parliament, 5,000 people gathered. They are looking at how their country is going to be governed for the next 15 years. And you can see the sobriety with which presentations are being made, the responsibility with which they are thinking. They are cascading it down to the people. And here we have individuals who are permanent members of public participation in every area. You say, in fact, when they introduce themselves, he says, I'm a member of public participation, because public participation has become a joke. What can we do beyond lamentation? Civic awareness. I think it is at this forum at which I said at one time that in Greece of old, they divided the society into tribalists, idiots, and citizens. Who are idiots? Idiots are those who think that they can just live without being concerned with what is going in their country. I'm not a politician, they say. Therefore, I can buy my 4-wheel in order to wade through the waters. I can cabro walk my driveway. Those are idiots, because they will be affected anyway. Then there are tribalists. The only thing they are thinking about is my tribesman going to be in this or that position, as if that ever helped them. Then they are citizens. The citizens think about the now. They think about tomorrow. They want things to be done properly. They are asking NTSA, now that you are introducing all this technology, are your traffic lights working? Are your roads marked so that I know how it is going to be done? Is everybody on the road paying insurance so that the boda pays the insurance, the matatu pays the insurance, and everything is good and sound? Or you have just introduced a scheme for revenue collection? A citizen asks those questions. And our appeal through media such as this is to invite Kenyans. Let us be Kenyan citizens. Sometimes I feel that there are very few Kenyans, because we have a majority of tribalists and a majority of idiots who don't care about this country. And the time that we are able to speak the truth and speak firmly and love this country, that is how we'll save her. Otherwise, countries have been lost easily. We nearly lost this country in 2007, 2008, because we allowed idiots and tribalists to rule the roost.
I think about what the citizens should do, and it's very clear that we've had conversations over the last couple of days, PLO, and that one thing that seems to have run through is that if we just actually follow the Constitution, because it's not just laws and judges and courts and lawyers, the Constitution, which is essentially the spirit of the country. If you follow what it says, then we would see that these things, which many are accused of just lamenting about, then essentially are sorted out and you wouldn't have a problem. You would not have an issue if the rule of law was followed. You would not have a situation where people are being bribed in the city to put up illegal structures. You would not have that. You would not have a situation whereby you give the contract for garbage collection to your friend. You would not have a situation whereby you have ghost schools, like you said, but real accounts. I mean, you wouldn't have a situation, PLO, where somebody puts a document down and they claim that one patient has had open heart surgery 4 times in 24 hours. If we were following the Constitution.
If we followed the Constitution, if we followed the laws, if we followed planning, we would work it. And did it ever work? Yes, it did. There was a time in this country, and I was alive and well, when we had in the education sector, we had the Kenya School Equipment Scheme. We got exercise books publicly funded. We got mathematical sets publicly funded. We got school uniform publicly funded. We had those days. We had days in this country where the medical facilities may have been few, but you walked into a dispensary and you are treated and you are referred to a national hospital. We had days in this Nairobi city when garbage was collected. We had days when people would be allocated houses built by the Kenya National Housing Corporation. We had days in this country where through Kenya Industrial Estates, businesses would be incubated. We had days in this country where if you committed a crime, you would be punished. Then there came new pharaohs in town who knew the law not. They thought that they were gods and demigods. And since those pharaohs came, Kenya has never been the same again. For us, there is no constitution. For us, we can operate and create our constitution called the 10-point agenda. The national constitution does not matter. For us, we can avoid the law relating to devolution and enter into pacts. For us, we can create our own funds. You are right. If only we could simply say for 1 year, even for the next 6 months, we simply say, let us follow the law and let everybody sit in their offices and work. We would save more than 50% of our budget, and this country would begin to move in the right direction.
People will tell you, sorry, Dennis, people will tell you that the things that you talk about, garbage was collected, school books, uniforms were provided by the government for students, that you could go to a health facility, or that school equipment was made available by government funding. They would tell you that the population was less and that today there's not enough money to go round the bulging population.
I would tell them that we are taxed more than 100 times more than we were taxed them. And I would tell them that if they were to go into our country now has a GDP, give or take, of 147 billion United States of dollars, depending on how you calculate it. And I want you to go and ask yourself how much money is in the hands of politicians, how much wealth in the hands of politicians since 1963 and in the hands of senior public servants. It is 3 times the amount of our GDP, which means that money is available. It has been privatized. And for that reason, their argument is dead on arrival. Look, how is it that a cabinet minister or a governor whose salary is no more than 1 million Kenya shilling is able to build a hotel without a loan within 2 years or within 3 years? How do they buy all these apartments and have high range and school their children in the most expensive schools in Kenya and the most expensive universities in the world. Why? Because the money that ought to go into education is going to those ghost schools, those ghost accounts. These individuals who are being subjected to operations for open heart surgeries, money is being stolen through those avenues. When garbage is purportedly collected in Nairobi, where do they collect that garbage? Water is being provided. You go to places such as Karen, such as Muthangari, such as Runda, such as Gigiri. Most people are operating on boreholes, borehole water. So the question is, where is the money? And we know where the money is. That is why individuals go to Harambes and they give 5 million, 10 million, 20 million as Harambee. And we say nothing about it. Where do they get the money? It is stolen from us. It is our taxes. That is the money that ought to go to the Kenya School Equipment Scheme. That is the money that ought to go to health. That is the money that is supposed to supply us with good agriculture. And I'm one who believes there is nothing called free education. There is free nothing. It is publicly funded by us through our taxes. That is what we need to do. It is happening in other countries. This country, with a good working population, can do it. But no more than 5,000 people in this country hold possibly over 70% of the wealth of this country. My statistics may be wrong, but they are not far from the truth. That is where we are,
PLO, you've traveled a lot. Fact would tell you that for one to get, say, a citizenship for a place like America, there's a process that you follow. And once you've been given the status that you are a citizen, it is usually met with clap and joy because of the rigorous process that it goes through. I bring you back home. We just found out the other day that there are warlords who managed to get Kenyan passports. That they didn't go through the processes, that the details, even when you follow through the system, the images that we see and details were that of a child, but the passport belongs to an adult. That Kenyans today are unable to get passports in this country. They're rightfully so document that they should have, but warlords can get passports in the country. You are an advocate of Kenya and Tanganyika. What does this do to Kenya's image and foreign policy before the rest of the world?
Let me tell you, my brother, I'm one who believes that we should have a borderless Africa. I'm one who believes that we should have an African passport. I'm one who believes in those things. But for the moment, we are a sovereign state and our government issues our passport. It means that when I have a Kenyan passport, I am a citizen of the Republic of Kenya to be protected as such. There must be a process. I must be a citizen of the Republic of Kenya. Right now, I can tell you I have clients in my law office for whom I've tried to obtain citizenship and by extension passport for the last 5 years.
I know.
Without success. But we are being told, and I know as a fact that people, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are people who simply come and pay some money and get passports. What does it say? That next time I'm traveling to Europe and America or anywhere in the world, they'll question, but are you truly a Kenyan citizen or you just bought the passport? Matters of security come into play. Matters of the strength of our passport come into play. There was a time when I could travel and many Kenyans could travel to places such as the United Kingdom and be there without any visas, or to the Schengen without any visas, or to other African countries without any visas. Now our passports are under scrutiny. And the individuals who are alleged to have ignored the law and these procedures are still in office. And possibly they have national honors such as the Moran of the Golden Spear, Elder of the Burning Spear. They have them. in serious countries, and I'm using the word civilized very deliberately, in countries where governance is civilized, national honors would be withdrawn from such individuals. Such individuals would lose their offices. Such individuals should be in court.
Without a thought.
In court. But here, it appears on the newspaper headline one day, then we are on the next business the following day. In fact, it is the newspaper that revealed it that will be vilified as being sensational. Okay. And in the business of sensationalization of issues. That is how we deal with critical issues in our beloved country. Perhaps we deserve it. Nyerere used to say, mkikubali ujinga katika siasa, ujinga wenu itawatafuna. Ujinga wenu itawatafuna. Your stupidity will chew you up. We have tolerated it for too long. Sasa inatutafuna.
I've seen a phrase that has been turned into a question over the last few months by many a Kenyan. And it has been, previously it was a phrase and said Kenyans are not angry enough. And now it has become a question that